So hi, everybody. Thank you all for coming to today's SheTek webinar, Networking and Uplifting Your Elevator Pitch. Today's episode is the second episode in our three-part spring webinar series, Prep for Success. We invite all of you to go to the SheTek community and check out the rest of SheTek's exciting virtual events this spring, including the Outlet 13, Maximizing Mentorship from Both Sides, and Masterclass Interview Skills. I'll tell you a little bit more about SheTek's events at the end of today's webinar. I'm Meg Vierig. I'm Program Coordinator and Community Manager at SheTek, and I'll be your host today. Right now, all our attendees are muted by default, and we'll have time for Q&A with Elaine and Judith after their talk today. You can submit all your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. We'll let you know it's been received, and we'll get to those questions answered at the end of today's session. You can also feel free to use the chat box to engage with us or the other attendees if you like. Be brave and share your thoughts with us. Today's webinar is brought to you by SheTek Inc., a nonprofit organization registered in New Jersey dedicated to increasing the number of women and allies in the tech staffing pipeline. SheTek's patron sponsor is PamTen, an award-winning global IT services and staffing organization based in Princeton, New Jersey. PamTen conceptualizes innovative software products and solutions for its clients and oversees them from development to implementation. PamTen also connects exceptional talent to organizations around the world. You can find out more about PamTen at pamten.com. Today's webinar is titled Networking and Uplifting Your Elevator Pitch. We're talking to two networking experts today, Elaine Tanimura, Executive Project Manager at PamTen, and Judith Sheft, Executive Director at the New Jersey Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. Elaine is a highly skilled project manager PMP with over 25 years experience managing complex, multifunction global projects. Prior to joining PamTen, Elaine worked extensively with a global human capital management company, working in roles that utilized her project management, program management, and client service skills. She is on the board of the Project Management Institute New Jersey chapter, where she leads the community, corporate, and education outreach efforts. She also has a passion for social responsibility and serves in a leadership position with the Dominican Sisters of Tahlequah. Judith Sheft is the Executive Director of the New Jersey Commission of Science, Innovation, and Technology. As Executive Director, Judith supports the Commission's mission to accelerate the economic development in New Jersey through science, innovation, and technology, including stimulating academic-industrial collaboration and encouraging and supporting entrepreneurs and investors. Previously, Judith was involved with regional, economic, and cluster development, having responsibilities at the New Jersey Innovation Institute at NJIT for the Health IT Connections Entrepreneurial Cluster Development Program, the NJIT I-Core site, and the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. She's been engaged with technology and IP innovation and commercialization efforts, working with faculty and students to create startup companies and establishing licensing relationships with corporate partners. She advised external startups at NJIT's High Technology Life Sciences Business Accelerator Incubator. She's on the board of advisors at the NJIT Murray Women's Center and serves as mentor and coach to students and faculty. She's a member of the NJ Israel Commission and serves on the board of the Greater Newark Enterprise Corporation, Startup Newark, Women's Center for Entrepreneurship Corporation, Einstein's Alley, SheTek, yay, and the NJ-EDA Technology Advisory Board, working to assist early-stage tech and life sciences entrepreneurs foster regional economic growth. Also, Judith was co-chair of Governor Murphy in New Jersey's Transition Advisory Committee for Technology, Government, and Innovation in 2017. Elaine and Judith, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to hand it over to you both to get started.
Great, thank you, Meg. So is Meg going to be moving the slides for us? Okay, great. So I want to just spend a couple of minutes quickly going over the agenda of the topics that Elaine and I are going to be covering in the session today. We're going to talk about what's the plan, how do you really effectively network, and how do you market yourself. We're going to talk about your elevator pitch, which is a really critical component of how you network, both when you're networking in real life, which I now understand is designated as IRL, as well as how you're going to have to be able to network in a virtual world. We'll talk a little bit about LinkedIn, some basics of networking, both what you do when we're available and able to meet in person and how you network on virtual events such as this one. We'll talk about some of the tips for using virtual platforms as well as LinkedIn. And then we'll put it all together, and Elaine and I are going to share some stories with you of really case studies or examples of how we and others that we know have been able to effectively use networking to advance their skills and activities. So I'm going to turn it over to Elaine to talk a little bit about the marketing plan.
Thanks, Judith, and thanks everyone for joining today's event. As Meg said, I am a project manager at PamTen. I also lead the SheTek initiatives. So based on my project management background, it's very easy for me to put together a plan. It's kind of in my DNA. But as you're looking for jobs, it's really critical that you create a plan to market yourself. I talk to people all the time that are looking for their first job or have been laid off or transitioning, and they're just randomly sending out resumes and hoping for the best. And that's really not going to make you successful in landing a job or networking to find a job or just networking in general. So my advice is to start with a plan. And what you need to do, and it doesn't have to be in a fancy document, it could be on a piece of paper or a Word document or Excel, is really write down things that are critical to your success in finding a job. So you need to know what potential job titles you're looking for. What kind of industries do you want to target? What companies within those industries do you want to target? And then you need to think about the location, your salary, your benefits. All of these go into this plan. So before you can get out and network and start looking for a job or connecting with people, you really need to know what you're doing. So job titles might seem obvious, but some people don't even really have a good idea of what kind of titles are out there in the different roles. So do some research, go onto LinkedIn, go to different industry, Career Builder or Indeed or any of those tools, Monster. They have a whole bunch of job titles. They will tell you the definition, the description. So do that kind of homework. Then think about the industries you want to target. So if you're just starting out in your career, maybe it doesn't really matter. But if you've been in healthcare for 5 years or so, do you still want to stay in healthcare? Do you want to kind of transition into something related to healthcare, maybe pharma, or do you want to go into something totally different? So think about those target industries. Once you know the industries, the next important piece is what companies do you want to target within those industries? Are you looking for a big Fortune 500 company? Are you looking for a mid-sized company? Maybe you want to be in a startup. So for those industries, look at those companies and start doing the research. Try to narrow it down to 5 to 10 companies that you really want to focus on so that when you're ready to network, you have an idea of who you want to connect with in those companies or in those industries. Then you need to think about the location. Right now, many of us are still working remotely, so it might not matter. But in a few months, probably we're going to be going back into the office in some fashion, maybe a few days a week, maybe full time. So a commute that you say you can do in 30 miles will be 30 minutes on the parkway today. In 6 months, 30 miles might be 90 minutes. And all of a sudden, that's really not going to be doable for you. So that's something important to include in your plan. Salary requirements is going to come up in a conversation with a recruiter, with a hiring manager. Again, do the research, find out what the ranges are for particular jobs, and know what you can and can't accept. If you know your bills and know how much is that minimum that you can really accept as part of a salary. And then other considerations are benefits. Do you need medical, dental benefits? Do you need a 401k? What about vacation? If you've been in a company for 5 years or 10 years, you might have 3 weeks vacation. You might love doing those long trips. If you go into a new job, you may not get that. So is that something important that should be part of your plan? Flexibility, again, if you want to continue working remote, or if you have young children or taking care of elderly parents or going to school, think about that. And then there might be other perks that are important to you as well. So really, the first thing you need to do in looking for a job, in targeting, in networking, is to come up with this plan. And once you have the plan in place, I will go turn it to the next slide, and we'll talk about creating your elevator pitch. Judith?
Great. Thanks, Elaine. So the elevator pitch is really a quick way of answering the question when I meet someone either virtually or a phone call or in meetings. I might say to you, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me something. And so this is where you don't want to be stumbling around a little bit. A number of years ago, I used to work for AT&T, and I happened to have been at a meeting at the Bell Labs facility in Murray Hill. And in the distance down a long corridor, I happened to see a woman who I knew because she also had a child in the same daycare center that I did. But unfortunately, and I wanted to go, talk to her to say, hey, I'm here, great to see you. But unfortunately, I didn't happen to know her name. So all I could do was sort of yell a little bit down the corridor, Andrew's mother. Well, I'm sure Linda, who I subsequently met and became very good friends with, I'm sure Linda Clark really did not want to be known as Andrew's mother in that professional context. She wanted to be known as a chemist who was working on product development for semiconductor products that AT&T was manufacturing. So you want to be able to position yourself as a professional. You want to be able, in that short beginning part of a conversation, be able to talk about who you are, what you do, and what makes you stand out for others. What's the unique aspect about your set of capabilities? What are you known for? Some people are known for being connectors. They are known that if you talk to them, they're going to be able to run through their mental Rolodex and be able to say, oh, I think I can connect you with this person. Or listening to someone, you might say, oh, listening to what you're telling me, if I'm listening to an entrepreneur and you heard that I do a lot of work with startup companies and entrepreneurs, I might know, like, okay, here's who I think I can connect them with from a funding perspective. Or I might think about who I can connect them with in terms of university resources. So for me, a lot of what I'm known about is being a connector, knowing how to connect people. You might also be known, and Elaine, when she introduced herself, she's known as a program and project manager. She knows how to develop plans so that if you need to have a detailed plan developed, you would want Elaine as one of the people on your team because she's got the discipline to be able to put those plans together that you're going to be able to then implement against to achieve your objectives. Other people might be known as great writers. And if that's what your skill set is, you're able to say, I'm a good writer. I'm able to communicate really effectively. I can take these very complicated, complex topics and I can boil them down into a way that's easy for people to understand. I'm able to communicate effectively. Or you might be someone who's really great in sales so that your skill is being able to increase sales for an organization. So you need to be able to take yourself and be able to describe who you are around the set of capabilities that they have. And when you are looking for a job, clearly one of the things that you want to be able to talk about is why somebody is going to want to be able to hire you and where you think you can potentially fit into their organization. And I know Elaine on her earlier slide, talked about, think about the target companies that you're willing or would like to be able to target working for, but also think a little bit outside of the box. You might not have necessarily thought about other areas. If you'd always worked in the private sector, you might not necessarily think about a role in a government organization. And again, if you're working in technology, we know that technology is everywhere. So potentially there may be opportunities and jobs that you should be thinking about a little bit outside of your box. Does state government potentially look to be able to hire you for what you're doing? Or potentially nonprofit organizations, are they looking to automate, to bring technology into their organization. So don't be so 100% narrow in terms of where you're thinking that you'd like to be able to go. Some steps in terms of helping you develop your elevator pitch is to write it out, practice it, say it in the shower, say it in your head when you're perhaps doing your morning exercise routine. If you're on an exercise bike or you're out walking, practice it, practice it, practice it. There's people within your network that you can talk to, your family, trusted friends, an advisor. Practice saying it so that it becomes natural when you're talking to someone, because really you don't want to be able to, you want to be able to effectively get your message across, and you don't want to be able to stumble. And clearly you want to be able to make adjustments depending on the particular situation that you're in. When someone says, well, tell me a little bit about yourself, because again, you're going to have different circumstances where you may meet someone, whether it's at a party or whether it's an event like this or a business type of meeting. And so now we want to talk on the next slide a little bit about, if we can move on to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about LinkedIn and some best practices about your LinkedIn profile. Hard to believe how ubiquitous LinkedIn is and how important LinkedIn is in terms of defining who you are. I can't tell you how many times I'll either meet someone and then I'm going to go back and look at their LinkedIn profile. In my current role in the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology, we get companies who are applying for grants from our commission. We go back and we look up the people who are part of that company on LinkedIn. We want to see where are they, what are they doing, and we really use it as a vetting mechanism. So it's really critically important that your LinkedIn profile is up to date. On my LinkedIn profile, you can find an email address and a phone number. And again, I'm trying to be able to reach out to people. I want people to be able to connect with me. And so for my circumstances, I'm willing to put my email and my phone number on there so that I can connect with other people. And when you're in a job search situation, I would encourage you to, again, make it easy for people to reach out for you. Sometimes, yes, I know you can message back and forth on the LinkedIn, platform. I find that sometimes to be a little bit awkward, at least for me, so that when I do have someone reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'll ask them to then, I'll say, here's my email, please, let's move the discussion off of the LinkedIn platform into the email platform. If you are going to be updating your LinkedIn profile, and there's lots of guides on LinkedIn about how to use LinkedIn, turn off there's a notification button that that will sort of announce to everyone who's part of your network when you've had a change in status. When you're going through all of your updating of your profile, you want to turn that notification off. You don't want it binging everyone in your network as you're tuning up your LinkedIn profile, because they're really not potentially significant changes that are taking place. Your picture is also an important part of your LinkedIn profile. Subjectively, people are going to take a look at that profile. They want to see a professional profile. They want to see you wearing something that they can see in a professional environment. They don't want to see you at a family reunion, an outdoor barbecue, a graduation event. All of those other wonderful photos that you have are great. They just do not belong as part of your LinkedIn profile. In the heading of your LinkedIn, make sure that it includes the kind of job titles you've had, what you're looking for, because again, the LinkedIn system itself will then be able to send you messages where there are some job opportunities that might match up with what you're looking to do. And be sure that you fill out the profile. There's lots of different sections in it. Tell your story, include bullet points, include metrics. Be able to say, I increased sales 25%. I grew revenue, so many dollars. We brought in whatever, the project on time, and we saved the company so much dollars. The more that you can make it those SMART objectives, and we've all heard about, the SMART, measurable, time-defined objectives, the better you are, as opposed to just sort of fluff and stuff about it. LinkedIn also has the opportunity for you to join different groups. There's different groups on LinkedIn. And I would encourage you to think about, if there's a particular group around a, topic area, there may be program managers, there may be software developers, there may be a LinkedIn group associated with alumni from a particular academic institution that you went to. Join those groups, but then also contribute. You can post articles in those LinkedIn groups so that you can start and get the conversations going with other people that are also part of LinkedIn. Use LinkedIn as a tool to help you move forward. And with that, we're now going to talk a little bit about networking, and it's back over to Elaine.
Okay, so thanks, Judith. So now that you've got your marketing plan ready, you've got your elevator pitch ready to go, you've tweaked your LinkedIn profile, now comes the work. So networking takes work. It is not a one and done. It's not something that you can do starting in 2 minutes. You really have to plan to network. And networking is all about relationship building, and it's ongoing. It's not asking someone for a job. It's really building a relationship, connecting with people, getting to know people, finding interests, finding things that are in common, finding out how you can help each other. You might look at it right now that you're looking for a job or you're looking for a new business opportunities or whatever, but you can also offer to help someone else. So it's not just a one-way street of what you're looking for, it's also how you can help others. And it is very, very important because the statistics show that 60% of jobs are found by networking. So if you're sitting at home right now and you're just sending out resumes, it's going to be very challenging in most cases to find the next job. You really need to network. And I think our recruiters, if you attended our recruiting session a couple of weeks ago, the recruiters mentioned that most of them spend 10 to 15 seconds on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile. So if it's not something that's going to catch their eye in those first few seconds, they're on to the next candidate. So time really should be spent on networking. So how do we do that in a in-person event? So right now, most of us are not in person, right? Here we are on Zoom again. And hopefully though, in the next few months or so, we will be back in person. So how could you make the most of those kinds of situations? Whether you're attending a lunch meeting, if you're attending a workshop, if you're registered for a conference, how could you take advantage to meet the people there? How do you know who's all there and who you really want to make sure you get to connect with? So today, for example, you registered for this webinar, and on the registration page, it says attendees. So there you go, right on the registration in many platforms, it will have a list. So as I said, it's going to take work to do this, but what you need to do is make a list of those people, go to LinkedIn and start looking them up. And you'll see Judith and you'll say, wow, she has an interesting profile. I think she's someone I'd like to meet at this event. So I can send a LinkedIn message to Judith and say, hey, Judith, I'm Elaine. I see that we're both going to be attending the ABC conference next week. I think we've got some things in common. I'd really like to connect with you at the meeting. Hopefully she'll respond. We'll figure out how we're going to meet when we get there. So it's something that takes time, but it's going to be valuable time, because what you don't want to happen is you go to an event and you really want to meet certain people, you want to gather certain information, and you wind up talking to 5 people that may be nice people, and in another time and place, it would be very good to know them. But for your purposes right now, you really wanted to connect with other people. So do this homework, spend the time, and hopefully you will get those connections at the in-person event. If there's not an opportunity to review any kind of attendee reports before the event, then what could you do next? So this is a couple tips that I've received from career coaches that are really, kind of in the networking scene and do this quite frequently. One of the tips he gave was to stand near the entrance, or hopefully in the evening event, the bar. And this is where a lot of people congregate. So now that you have your elevator pitch ready, you can stand there and, hi, Judith, I'm Elaine. Nice to see you here at this event. This is my story, and you can go into your elevator pitch and, what brings you here today. And if you find that you have some things in common, maybe this is a good time to say, maybe we can sit together and get to know each other more. If not, Judith, it's nice meeting you. I hope you enjoy the event, and you talk to someone else. So the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to walk into a room and it's a big catering hall and there's 100 tables, and you're going to sit down immediately, because once you sit down, you're stopping the networking, because now the only people you can network with are the people that are sitting at your table. So try to mingle, try to introduce yourself, try to kind of work the room, as they say, while you have the opportunity to be at this event. Another tip that this person gave, which was very challenging for me at the beginning, because I am really an introvert, so this was very much out of my comfort zone, but I've done it and I can tell you that it does work. So say you want, I see Meg and I really would like to meet her at the event, and she's standing with 3 or 4 other people, and I'm kind of wanting to get into that circle. I don't want to just push my way in. But what the suggestion is, and as again, I've done it and it works, is to stand kind of a little bit further back from the circle, but close enough that you can hear the conversation, and you start nodding, when people are nodding and you're smiling, and eventually somebody is going to notice. And in my experience, they will open up a space for you to insert yourself. And now you're in the circle, you're part of the conversation. I get to meet Meg, and I'm successful in making that connection. So I know it might sound intimidating to a lot of people. As I said, it was very much for me to do that, but it does work. Another thing, in person, and if you have business cards, sometimes people say, oh, I hate collecting business cards. What do I do with them at the end of the night? Well, if you are looking for a job, you can create your own business card. And again, it's marketing yourself. I did this when I was in my job search. Very inexpensive to have cards printed up. You have your name, your contact information. You could have some job titles. You could have some skills, services that you might, be offering if you're looking for, part-time or kind of consulting, contracting work, and give those out. Hi, Meg, it's nice to meet you. I'm Elaine. I'd like to just share some information about myself, talk through your elevator pitch. And then when Meg goes back to the office, you never know. She might say, I'm looking for a project manager, or I know someone is, where is Elaine's card? And, now she has my information. So very easy way to kind of keep your name in front of people after the event. And then the most important thing to do is to follow up. So I've met Judith, I've met Meg. Now I want to continue my conversations with them. So if I have their contact information, I can go either send them an email or call them, or go onto LinkedIn and set up a date to meet either in person or virtually or however. So these are all good tips and tricks for in person. And now we'll let Judith share some information about virtual.
Great. And before I jump into the virtual, I just want to build off of something that Elaine said with respect to business cards. In a sense, when the reason you want a business card is you are trying to get that other person's contact information. And so one of the ways that you can get them to be likely to give you their business card is that you can say, hey, let's exchange business cards. Here's mine. And when you hand them that card, 9 times out of 10, unless they don't have one, they're going to give you one back, which then gives you that contact information, which allows you to do the follow-up that Elaine had talked about. Additionally, when you're following up with people, if you remember that someone was working in a particular area, even if a few months later you happen to see an article that you think might be relevant to them, you can say, hey, I met you at the SheTek event. I know you told me you were interested in big data projects outside the United States. Here's an article I saw that might be of interest to you. So you just kind of can continue, really, even in a virtual way, you can continue to develop that networking. And by having those business cards, you've got them. And you do sort of periodically have to pull that shoebox out from, from under the desk, and hopefully you've put them into LinkedIn so that you can actually throw the business cards away. So now let's talk a little bit about the virtual networking events. You can see on our little squares, you can see our names on some of the platforms, and I believe this is a Zoom platform that we're using today. It gives you the opportunity to also go in and add some additional information about yourself. So I've been in events where they'll tell everyone, hey, when you go in to start the networking, please go in. I think, sometimes it's like the little 3 dots up in the corner. You can change your name to say Judith Sheft Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. So again, as other people are seeing you, they're able to place you where you are. When you're in a meeting such as this one, when in the beginning part, you want to be sure potentially that you're muted so that you don't have kind of background distractions when you're not talking. You want to be sure that you're presenting yourself in the best possible light. And speaking of light, there's certainly a number of articles that you can read on the internet that will tell you how to set up your virtual presence to give you the best look possible. I've watched a number of these online tutorials, and you'll actually see the individual who's giving the tutorial holding their phone or their computer up and kind of walking around their house and sort of saying, look, if I shift it this way, it's got a better light. So for example, you can see in my room, you can see the background from my dining room. I probably don't want to show it this way where you're perhaps distracted by seeing what's in my kitchen. So you want to spend a little time making sure that how you look, your presence on screen is not going to be distracting. You also want to be sure you're looking straight at the camera. Early on, sometimes you'll end up seeing people where somehow it got set up in a way where it almost looked like it was going up their nose, because the way they had the camera adjusted versus how they were sitting. So you want to spend a little time to be sure that you're not distracting. One of the other articles I read, was talking about your background, what's behind you. And certainly there's a number of different, kind of Zoom backgrounds that people put up. Sometimes if you're with a company, you might want to have your corporate background as part of your branding. You can certainly get some of these other ones that potentially look like you're on the beach in Hawaii or other places. Again, for a professional perspective, I would really recommend not using those. Those can tend to be a little bit distracting. And the articles I've read have really indicated that when you have really your own personal environment, it's a little bit more genuine. You look more authentic when you're interacting with people. And then how do you want to dress? You want to look professional when you're interacting with people in these virtual types of meetings. That's not to say that I don't have on my house slippers on my feet, because you're not seeing my feet. And maybe even though I have a nice business top on, I've got my sweatpants or leggings on as opposed to a pair of trousers that I might wear if I was actually in a real life meeting. But you want to look professional. A friend of mine has a company called Image Design Consulting, and if you go on to her website that Sharon Kornstein has, she has some blogs again that talk about how you can present yourself virtually so that you've got the best look forward and it's not distracting and you're looking powerful in a way that's going to help you make the connections. You want to avoid multitasking. You think you're in this group, Is everybody looking at you? Maybe not, but you don't want, even though there might be a number of other little squares up there, you don't want to be like over here doing something else or picking something up off the floor, because somebody will see that and that will look particularly distracting. Early on, I didn't realize this, but I was like drinking a water bottle, and later somebody told me that, the water bottle was, again, very distracting. It turned out the way the camera was picking it up, it looked like I was drinking out of this gigantic thing, even though it was just a little bit of a water bottle. So you probably don't want to be eating or drinking while you're participating in some of these kinds of sessions. Sometimes people might, for a moment, put themselves where they're stopping the video if they need to do that. You might also need to stop the video or mute if, for example, there's other family distractions taking place that you need to deal with. I know one of the things, I don't know if you have the same situation, but it seems to me like I'm always on a meeting and I get that daily call from the auto warranty group. I can't tell you how many times I keep trying to take myself off the list, but I get numerous calls about that, and it always seems to be distracting. So you might want to be sure that your cell phone, you've turned the ringer down so that it's not going to be distracting to you while you're in this virtual networking event. And then what do you want to start talking to somebody about? I've been at events where you might be a large event, and then they'll break you into smaller virtual Zoom rooms where maybe there's anywhere from 4, 5, 6 people in a Zoom room, and you have the opportunity to go around, tell your little elevator pitch. You might be meeting people that you don't know before. So what can you talk about? You can talk about your family. You might say, hey, I've got 2 children, or I'm retired, whatever it is you want to be able to talk about. You might talk about what you like to do from a recreational standpoint. You might be able to say, I know early on, people might have talked about, I had to put in a number of pieces of equipment to kind of create my own little home gym, because I used to go to the Y every day, and with COVID and all of the gyms being shut down, I had to buy an exercise bike. And you might talk about that, or you might talk about exercising outdoors, and you might talk about skiing, whatever your occupational hobbies are. You might talk about your job, you might talk about goals that you have, or you might talk about books that you've read, or podcasts that you've been listening to, or television programs that you've been watching. You might say, hey, did you see this new documentary that they've got on about the WeWorks? And you might be able to, weave those into conversations that you have, so that there's lots of ways, even in a virtual networking framework, you're able to participate. And as they mentioned, there's, in many programs, if they haven't cut them off, there's both a chat and a Q&A button, so that you can be looking at the chat to see, oh, what are people saying in the chat that I want to respond to. Sometimes, and again, you can send your answer to all panelists, everybody who's at the meeting. You might be able to send it to just the panelists, or again, depending on how the organizer set it up, you might notice that there's a particular person that you want to meet with. You can send the message directly to that particular individual. So that, again, kind of look at the bottom, make sure you familiarize yourself with these platforms before you get started with them. And it can sometimes be a little bit intimidating at first, the use of the technologies, because I know I'm now pretty familiar with Zoom, and my office uses Microsoft Teams, but I've been at other meetings where they use a platform called Hopin, and then I heard there's another platform called Wonder. So there's all these different platforms. So spend a little time making sure you familiarize yourself with those capabilities. So now I think we're on to the next slide, which again, some of the tips about using these platforms. Again, we said, use your full name, mute yourself when you're not speaking, check the lighting, as well as check the background sound. I know it can be really annoying when you're on a call if for whatever reason, that happens to be the time when either you or your neighbor has got the yard people coming and there's all that big noise going on outside. Again, make sure the background isn't distracting, dress professionally, no eating, and look into the camera.
Okay, thanks, Judith. Those were all great tips. So now let's try to really focus on using LinkedIn. So some of the things that we've already talked about, but we'll review them. So when connecting, always include an introductory note, right? So many of us are on LinkedIn and we'll get a connection from someone and there's no context around it. So you have to kind of wonder, who is this person? You might click on their profile to figure it out. So make it easier for the person you want to connect with. And just say, hi, I'm Elaine. We met at the SheTek webinar yesterday. You said something interesting, you know, I'd like to connect. If you get those connections though from people that, you know, didn't include a note, don't just discount them 100% because you never know. You know, look at their profile and see, hey, maybe they connected me because I work here, or maybe because I'm in this role, or maybe we did meet somewhere recently and I just don't recall their name. You never know who you may benefit from being connected to in the future. And then ask for what you want. Right? So again, if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for business opportunities, ask, you know, say, I saw your profile. I noticed you're an expert at this. I'd really like to connect with you. Can we set up a time to meet? Ask for that informational interview. Don't be afraid. People want to help. You know, most people really want to share their expertise, their knowledge, their experience. And especially people, we've all been looking for jobs in the past, right? We know what it's like. So, you know, put yourself out there, ask for an informational interview, say that, you know, I'm a project manager. I'd love to get into your company. I want to learn more about your role, your company, whatever. And I'll be honest, in my experience, most of the times people will respond, right? So take a chance and see what happens. The worst thing that could happen is they don't respond, and then that's okay because you'll go on to the next person. But you're always trying to make a connection. You're always trying to find someone to talk to connect with, to build the relationships with. I know in my current job, I attend a lot of webinars. I you know, meet people. I write down, you know, their names. I do everything that I'm suggesting that you do in following up and connecting. And there's only been one time I can honestly say through this whole pandemic that I did that and the person set up the call with me. And when I got on the call, she almost said, well, like, what do you want? Like, why are you calling me? And, but, you know, I quickly rebounded and I said, well, you know, I just wanted to get to know more about you, your background, your experience. And, you know, she warmed up to it and we had a nice conversation. So don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to ask for help. As I said, people really want to help. I know that I'm very involved in my project management chapter, and I get connections all the time saying from people, you know, I want to learn more about project management. I want to know how you transitioned from, you know, your past role to your current role and the skills that you have and how you do it. And I'm always, you know, setting up a few minutes to chat with them. So do that, and then, you know, offer something back in return. You know, how could I help you? And then another important thing to ask is, who else could you refer me to? So when you're talking to someone, when you're done with that connection, or if they can't help you, if they weren't the right person, that's okay. Say, is there somebody else in your company or somebody else in your field that you would suggest that I talk to? So again, you're keeping those connections going. Someone had said, use the acronym ABC, always be connecting. So just keep that in mind as you're trying to make all of your connections. And Meg, I think that brings us to our next slide. And Judith, we'll let you get started.
Sure. So at this point, we'd like to kind of give you some stories, some real life case examples of how connections have really helped. When I worked at the New Jersey Institute of Technology, someone had connected with me on LinkedIn who had a background in biomedical engineering, and this individual had been involved with startup companies and had really grown some of them to, to quite large areas. And he just kind of reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, are you willing to meet with me? I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. And in the back of my head, I knew that our organization was always potentially looking for new people to bring into the organization. We were going to be building up a biomedical engineering, life sciences section of the business. So I agreed to meet with him, and he came to my office. I was working in Newark at the time. He came to my office. We probably spent about 45 minutes chatting, having coffee and so forth. And as I said, in my head, I said, I know who I need to connect him with, even though I don't have a particular job opportunity for him and it's not my specific area. I know other people at NJIT would really be interested in chatting with him. And so I got him, I said, this is really great information. I'm now going to connect you with our vice president who's looking to build out the life sciences area here at NJIT. And kind of long story short, he ultimately got hired by NJIT to fill that particular role. And every time we're at different meetings together, he would always introduce me as the person who helped him get that job. So again, you can use LinkedIn to be able to find job opportunities. You need to be willing to ask. And when you look at somebody that you'd like to talk to and meet on LinkedIn, the other piece is to see who else might know them who could make that introduction for you. I'll now turn it over to Elaine to give one of her case studies.
Sure. So my story is really about my job search. A couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to leave my current employer, and I had spent most of my career, all of my career really, in corporate America. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to really get into a nonprofit or a company that really had social responsibility impact. And, I really didn't know where to start. So I started by using all of the things that Judith and I have just spent 45 minutes talking to you about. So I put together that plan. I came up with, 10 or so organizations I was interested in. I put my elevator pitch together. I came to LinkedIn. I started looking, as Judith just said, for those organizations. Who do I know? Who are my first or second connections? I started reaching out. Some people responded, other people, did not. And I went through the process. I sent out the LinkedIn. This was pre-pandemic, so I met with them in person. I made the connections. I kept on repeating. And I went to in-person events. I introduced myself. And, at some point I put it all together, and I was able to find, my current opportunity. So it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. But I think if you follow these steps and really spend the time doing the research, making the connections, putting yourself out there, taking risks, whether you're looking for a job or, as Judith said, other business connections, I think that all of these steps will really help. And so with that, yes.
I was going to say, let me give one other story. Sure. My son had recently graduated college, and he was looking for a job as really an entry-level chemist. And I was on a networking event from Commerce and Industry Association of New Jersey. There was a big presentation, and then they were breaking us up into these little Zoom rooms with about 4 or 5 people in the room. And initially I thought, like, oh, do I really want to do this? Do I want to, am I up for networking with these people? And I said, well, all right, let me do this for the 20 minutes. And it turned out I was in a Zoom room with a gentleman who was working for an environmental engineering firm. And so while he was talking about what he was doing, I kind of looked up his company on the internet, and I saw that they actually had some chemistry positions. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is like perfect for my son. So after the event, I connected with him on LinkedIn, and I said, hey, it was great to chat with you in the LinkedIn connections room. And he accepted my LinkedIn connection. And then I went back and I said, hey, my son is just graduated with a degree in chemistry. Not would you give him a job, but would you mind at least advising him as to what potential opportunities there might be for a young individual with a bachelor's degree in chemistry? And we did notice that your company had some positions open that we did, that Jordan had applied for. The man got back to Jordan directly, spent some time giving him some advice about where to look for jobs. Turned out his company didn't have any openings, but one of his friends in another company did have an opening for a chemist, and he passed Jordan's resume along, and Jordan ended up working for and is now working for that other company. So that you, as Elaine said before, you sometimes kind of never know where some of these things are going to end up. So it's really useful to be able to build your network. And that was a connections that I did totally virtually. I never met that person in real life. We only met over the internet.
Very good. Thanks, Judith.
Thank you both for sharing such great stories with us today and for inspiring so much of the SheTek audience. We had a couple questions from our audience today. One thing that a couple people have asked about is they're very curious about your elevator pitches. Would you mind maybe sharing a quick elevator pitch of yourself with us? We can start with Judith.
Sure. Hi, I'm Judith Sheft. I'm the Executive Director for the New Jersey Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. And my focus is working with early stage life sciences and technology-based companies in the innovation space. I'm looking to be able to help these young companies grow and commercialize innovations that they've been working on. And I'm also interested in helping make connections for students and faculty at New Jersey universities who have innovations that can turn into businesses. I'm looking to make connections with people who are really in the innovation space, who are looking to fund these types of innovations and are looking to potentially help grow these young startup companies.
What about you, Elaine?
So I'm Elaine Tanimura. I am a project manager at PamTen, and I also lead the initiatives for SheTek. SheTek's mission is to increase the number of women in technology, and I am really known for building relationships and really just getting things done. So I'm always looking. Right now, my focus is really to help women in technology and to help them get employed.
That's great. I love how you both, how Judith said, I'm looking to make connections with, and I like how you say what your focus is. It really gives a nice opening for more conversations, I think. One other quick question before we go. Somebody was curious about any resources to identify target companies, maybe besides LinkedIn, especially with an eye towards free, since many of us here don't have jobs currently.
So I know this might sound old-fashioned, but your local library, they have a lot of resources, and the librarians are really experts. And especially now with the pandemic, it's really become a very kind of popular go-to place for free, where the librarians will actually help you do that research.
I also would like to mention the state of New Jersey, as part of their COVID center, had set up a job board which allowed companies who were looking for employees to post opportunities. Again, because of COVID, we knew that there were a lot of companies that were having challenges finding people to fill particular positions. So there might have initially, early on in the pandemic, there might have been a lot of warehousing, manufacturing, operations kinds of positions. But I would certainly encourage you to go take a look on the state of New Jersey. As I said, they've got a job board, as well as there's job boards from the Bio New Jersey. The Biotech Association here in New Jersey has a job board that you can look at where, again, biotech companies, if you're interested in sort of the life sciences field, will post their job openings. Tech United, which again is the trade organization for the technology businesses in New Jersey, also has opportunities. And then Elaine was talking a little bit about old-fashioned. Think back about where you went to school, and is there an opportunity to connect with the career services part of a university that you went to? We tend to sometimes think about them as only servicing the recent college graduates, but as an alum, you're able to go back to your academic institution. They may have some resources to help you both prepare your resume and other things, as well as they might have a listing of companies who are looking to have jobs that are filled, and you may be able to work with your alumni, your university to find some positions. Because again, many times they're looking for experienced people as well as fresh out college hires.
All right. Thank you both again, Elaine and Judith, for being with us today. I'm just going to take us through our closing here. I'd like to invite everyone that's here watching us and joining us today to join us over in the SheTek Power community to keep this networking going. You'll find us at shetek.net. The SheTek mission is, again, to increase the number of women in the tech staffing pipeline, and we do this through engaging, empowering, and employing women and allies just like you. Engage with us in our community's active discussion board, where we regularly post new topics to discuss things that are relevant to you and your career. Connect with the top women in tech around the country, learn from them, and then share your learnings with others. The SheTek community even has a revolutionary matchmaking system based on interests and skills in your profile, which makes it an ideal place for you to find a mentor. You can empower yourself with the SheTek community resources, increase your skills, and bulk up your resume with our tech trainings. We offer trainings in top tech skills like our new 8-week data training boot camps, or take shorter training sessions in Tableau, Salesforce, DevOps, and more. You can also use our free downloadable worksheets to set effective goals or develop self-branding strategies. You can also find past episodes of The Outlet, the 2020 SheTek Virtual Conference, and our recent Recruiter Secrets to Getting Hired Fast webinar in that resources area of the community. So go log in and check out our archive. Get employed using the SheTek Community Careers page. We post hot new tech opportunities around New Jersey, New York, and the rest of the United States every week. From highly skilled and paid roles to entry-level positions suited for us just getting started in tech, we've got a position for everyone. Stop by SheTek Careers and find your next job with us. I'm actually going to be posting more jobs today, so take a look at the hottest ones. Stop by the SheTek calendar and sign up for the next virtual event in our Spring Prep for Success series, including the AI Career on May 11th, Masterclass Interview Skills on May 14th, and the Outlet 13, Maximizing Mentorship from Both Sides on May 18th. Invest in your career by spending your lunch break learning from our results-oriented events. You'll be brought to that calendar with all our events right after you leave Zoom today. Thanks so much for everyone that joined us for networking and uplifting your elevator pitch today. And thanks to our guests, Elaine Tanimura of PamTen and Judith Sheft of the New Jersey Commission of Science, Innovation, and Technology. Stay plugged in at SheTek. Come join our community and follow us on social media. Talk to you soon, and thank you.